27. I'm excited to be here. I'm so excited about the topic that we're going to talk about today. Lamar, who hasn't been able to be with us on Friday mornings because he's had a client on Friday mornings, he and I did a kind of one-on-one talk. And what we talked about is the three biggest mistakes that men make in relationships. And so it was just fun. But one of the things that came out of that conversation was realizing how much women don't understand male sexuality with that. And
Mhm.
so I really wanted to talk about that today.
That's
And
good.
so, yeah, but so anyway, we're talking about understanding for women male sexuality, really just understanding it. All right. So before we do that, jump in and tell me how you doing today, Joe.
I'm doing great. Snow's melted here. Sun looks like it's calling up or going out. I'm doing good.
That's good. All
Had my
right. And
coffee, breakfast.
Jessica, how you doing?
Doing good. It's Friday, so I'm great.
Right. Friday, 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 Friday.
Yes.
All right. And the illustrious Sharian, how you doing today?
Ah,
Doing good, doing good. Can't complain, can't complain.
All
Just chilling.
right.
And like Jessica, I'm just kind of happy it's Friday.
Mm-hmm.
Even though my work don't end there, it's still just strange. It's just something about Fridays that still just make you feel like
Right.
until
Right.
Sunday about 6 or 7 o'clock.
Yep. And then it's time to get back to it again.
Yeah.
So, okay. All right. One of the things that came up in the conversation with Lamar and I, we had stumbled onto a conversation about porn and women's reactions and not understanding that. And one of the things in particular that I know I talk about in practice, but I was saying I never talk about this with my girlfriends. Like it's a conversation I've had as a professional, but it's never a conversation that I've had personally. And that
Mhm.
is when men feel inadequate about their penis, about their performance. A lot of men will choose not to have sex as opposed to essentially step to the plate and foul out. I might be using two different metaphors with that, two different sports metaphors. And I don't think we
get it.
talk about that as women. Like there's this expectation that if he's attracted to my body, no matter what's going on, he should get hard. And if that doesn't happen, um, then that means I'm less than, I'm not good enough, he's not attracted to me, he doesn't want me anymore, he's cheating on me, he's gay. And it's all of these things. And it could have been simply as he was scared he wasn't going to be able to get it up. Because when
Isn't that something?
like that, it could have been just that simple. And I've had that and seen that and talked about that in session, but we never talk about that as women out loud. So
Hmm.
okay, so that's my perspective. I'm gonna throw it to you, to Joe. Like, what are you like hearing on the phones, or what you've even noticed of something that women are getting totally wrong with understanding male sexuality?
Well, you're spot on with that because that's one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy, as opposed to, and I think we talked a little bit about it last week,
Mm-hmm.
um, the guy, as opposed to going out and cheating, will go to porn
Mm-hmm.
because he can't get it from his wife and he's disappointed that he can't
Mm-hmm.
perform. And
Mm-hmm.
all I keep hearing is them saying, I just want her to be happy. I want to do what
Yeah.
makes her happy. And
Mm-hmm.
I also want to be happy, but we want to get fulfillment. But the best way for me to keep my vows is to
Mm-hmm.
go over here and do it.
Mm-hmm.
So some of the things are that I've heard, excuse me, is forgot to mute myself, is that when that happens and they can't get an erection or something, the wife starts digging in and saying, you can't even get it up. I can go, stuff like that. It's
Mm-hmm.
not very nice.
Mm-mm.
And then he goes in and it gets worse and worse. So every time
Mm-hmm.
he has to perform, he starts to say, okay, well, I can't. I'm not going to be able to. So then he goes to the internet because nobody's
Mm-hmm.
judging him.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I've heard. And the wife gets, she's over here mad and then
Mm-hmm.
catches him on it. And he's saying, well, I
Mm-hmm.
did this because you said that. And she said, well, it's because of this. And it goes
Mm-hmm.
around and around.
Round and around.
But yeah, that's what I have heard. It's because of performance. And then the more she digs in, or even a him side, more he digs into her, they back up and they go into themselves. And then they
Yeah.
go that way, as
Yeah.
opposed to cheating. But they still really are because they're not with their partner.
Mm-hmm.
Still cheating.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't
Mm-hmm.
addressed it.
Mm-hmm.
So they're
Mm-hmm.
turning and running as opposed to stepping up and saying, just sitting down and have a conversation. This is how I feel when you do this to me, or when you
Yeah.
say this to me, it backs me up.
Yeah.
So then I do this another way. So
Mm-hmm.
that's what I'm getting.
Yeah. Okay.
Mhm.
That's excellent. Good stuff. All right, Jessica. Jessica's our newest person here, and I'm having her specialize in poly and open relationships and consensual non-monogamy. And
Mhm.
so, Jessica, what do you have to add to the conversation from that lens?
Would say when they catch their mate watching porn, sometimes they go deep as to look at the categories and what type of porn they're looking at, and looking
Mm-hmm.
at the appearance of the women and or men that they're looking at, and they start internalizing, okay, I don't look like her. That's not
Yep.
what we do. That's not our cup of tea. So they
Right.
start thinking, is there something wrong with me? Or are you cheating with somebody who looks like that and you can't get
Mm-hmm.
to them right now? So
Mm-hmm.
I'm just doing this just for the time being. So they start
Mm-hmm.
seeing and start comparing themselves to what they see and what categories of sex they like, and start saying, something's not right here. And it starts a
Mm-hmm.
whole another argument.
Mm-hmm. Oh my God, that's so good.
Mhm.
With that being said, I feel like women a lot of times look at men as very black and white, one dimensional.
Mhm.
Whereas women, we understand that attraction is not necessarily just about your body type. Like it's so
Mhm.
much more than that. But then we'll look at the man and be like, oh, you like that, you don't like me. And as opposed to understanding that we all like different things. And so
Yeah.
the example that I usually use is um LL Cool J,
Oh,
Snoop Dogg,
mhm.
Yes.
um, Ice Cube,
Mhm.
Yes.
The Rock. These are four men that could call me right now and I'm out. Where you want me to be? Where you want me to be? How you want me to be
Mhm.
there? Like I'm there. But they all look very different. But I'm
Mhm.
Yeah.
attracted to them all. And we
Mhm.
understand that as females, that like, oh, like he's short, but he does something like, or he's tall. Like we understand that. But for whatever reason, we lock men in a box of, oh, that's what you like? Okay, so you don't like me.
And I think
We
a
are
lot of
we
my girlfriends, we were having a
Yeah.
conversation to where those celebrities that you talked about and many more, we will look at the girls that they will be in the videos with, and then look at their spouse and be like, that don't look like that.
right.
So what do you really like?
Mm-hmm.
And the women
Mhm.
that try to make themselves look like the girls in the videos or in the movies, the people that they took vows with and have children with and they have
Mm-hmm.
these great lives with, some of them they've been with since high school, the
Right.
girls in the video. And it's much deeper than that.
It's so
Mhm.
much deeper than that because at the end of the day, men are human beings that want to be
Mhm.
loved, that want to be accepted, they want to be respected, they don't want to be used. And
Mhm.
so a lot of times I'm with this person because I know they got my back. I'm with
Yeah.
Mhm.
this person because I know they had me when I didn't have anything. I'm
Mhm.
with this person because I'm loyal. I'm with this person because they took care of me when I was sick, you know. Because Charlie Wilson, that's his story of his wife.
Yeah.
She was my nurse. This is the person who took care of
Mhm.
me when I was sick. That's why I'm with her, not because she looks a certain way, but because she was there when I was down. And it's like we
Mhm.
we forget somehow that men are human beings. Um,
Mhm.
and I remember one particular guy who had just been he was probably about 50. And I just remember he was saying, look, at this point, I don't care what she looked like. I just need somebody who's going to treat me right.
Mhm.
Oh.
Like I just need somebody who's going to stand up,
Mhm.
who's going to be a person with me, who's going to
Mhm.
do this thing with me. And so we forget that. And so I think we all can live in fantasy world. If Idris Elba calls me, I would love to go with him. But I know that's fantasy world. And so I don't understand why women feel like when men are looking at fantasy world that they don't understand that's fantasy world because they do. I've actually had a guy say, "Oh, she's too pretty. I do not want to deal with her. I don't want to deal with her.
Mm.
She's too pretty for me."
Mhm.
You know,
Wow.
yeah. And I was like, "How does that work?" He was like, "It's."
Yeah.
He said, "It's drama. It's drama waiting to happen, and I don't want that
Mhm.
life. So this is my
Mhm.
wife with that." So, all right, Sharon. I know because you deal with couples and you be in it with them. So tell me, what have you noticed that women don't understand that we're getting wrong?
Okay, so I think that okay, so it's hard. Sometimes I think that I have come across women and couples that do understand
Mm-hmm.
logically
Mm-hmm.
and they want the support, but what they don't understand is when the male doesn't get support. So
Okay,
if
break that
there's
down to me. Give me an example.
Yeah.
okay, so an example is if say you're suffering from erectile dysfunction,
Mm-hmm.
but you don't go get any help past I just have erectile dysfunction and you should just deal with it and you should just
Mm.
always be patient with me. But you
Mm-hmm.
do nothing to try to
Yeah.
help that situation.
Mm-hmm.
And even while we're in couples therapy and it's a form of help, you still kind of withdrawing and then it becomes a blame thing like I'm not supporting you. But it's not that I'm not supporting you. I just can't support you because you won't reach out and see
Mm-hmm.
what you can do
Mm-hmm.
about the erectile dysfunction, even from a medical perspective. So you get some men that just
Yeah.
don't want to go to a urologist. And they
Yeah.
just because my wife has a problem with it. So it's not the fact that she just really just doesn't support. She may not know how to
Yeah.
understand how to support beneath the surface.
Mm.
Right.
That's
So
good.
in a way, like what is it about your manhood that's stopping you from wanting to
Yeah.
go seek extra help? So
Mm-hmm.
that's what I think that's the part of a man that a woman may not understand and may not understand how to support.
Yeah. Oh,
Mhm.
that's so good. And I gotta
Mhm.
say, seen it on both sides where the man really isn't doing what he needs to do to get that extra support and help him figure out the problem, and the woman isn't doing what she needs to do to get that extra support and solve the problem. But what I want you guys to know is most partners just want to see the effort. Like if you are putting in effort and you're trying to figure out how to work this problem, but you're not coming up with a solution, I got patience for that because you're trying. It's
Mhm.
when I don't see you were trying at all that makes me feel like you don't care about meeting my needs.
And
You
that's
don't
where the
care that I'm hurting. You don't care that I can't connect with you in a way in which I feel like I need to connect with you. And you going on about your life and I'm over here suffering. And
and
so
that's where the
that, go ahead, Sharon.
I'm sorry. I keep trying to find your break. I could have just said excuse me. I'm sorry.
We need a
but
bell.
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, because that's what I wanted to say. And that's where the feelings of the woman of you don't want me, you don't desire me.
Mm-hmm.
That's where it starts affecting the self-esteem.
Mm-hmm.
When like you saying you won't even put the effort in to seeing what it is that you can do better to support me too. Because once
Mm-hmm.
again, it's a misconception that sex is only about the man anyway.
Yep.
And
Yep.
men had it. So it's like one thing just influenced the other. Sex
Mm-hmm.
important to me too, although I'm a woman. So it's
Mm-hmm.
almost like kind of like I know you're saying what women don't understand, and I
Mm-hmm.
get that, but I think that it's just so multi-dimensional and so
It
many
is.
layers to that that it's not just, hey, I ain't understanding you, bro, because your
Right.
penis is being a little,
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
like everybody else's. Because I think
Mm-hmm.
in the cases that I've seen, women are really flexible towards that, but you still have to understand that sex is
Yeah.
me too. It's not just about your
Mm-hmm.
I'm at your point of ejaculation. It's
Yep.
about me too. I want
Yeah.
to too.
Yeah. No, I think that's an excellent point. Like sex is a team sport. I like to say a lot in session. And so we got to have both people on the court at practicing, figuring out what we do, figuring out how do we make this better, figuring out how we win as a couple, and we got to be working in partnership. That's what I'd like. I want to pivot just a little bit and talk about something else that women may not understand about men, and something that I feel like I'm currently really learning and understanding as a therapist, and I've been doing this for a minute now. But I just as a therapist was struggling with, I know that some of my male clients aren't telling me what they really need to tell me. And so I've been talking to my mentors and supervisors and trying to figure out, okay, what's going on? Is it my approach? Is it my dynamic? Do I need to be asking different questions? And so my mentor Tom was so nice to say, Natalie, I need you to remember that men learn very early on not to share their true sexual selves with anybody very early on. Like if they discover masturbation, they know they can get in trouble with this by their parents if they get caught. If they start using porn, they know they can get in trouble with it. And a lot of porn usage comes out of curiosity at the beginning of just wanting to know. So one of the things that we know now, or that we're looking at now, is that now the adolescents have access to cell phones. They have access to porn. If you got a cell phone, you got porn. And so getting parents to understand that and step in, and have more conversations with their kids and make it a safe place. But I think that's one thing that I want women to know is, if you're not meeting him to his 30, and he has been shamed about his sexual desires since he got caught masturbating at 12. That's years and years of conditioning. Okay, I can't share my sexual self, my sexual desires out loud. Like I can't. And I know women, especially me, but tell me everything. I'm a safe place. I'm not going to judge you. Um,
Yeah.
but okay, but I got judged every other single time. And so if every time I stuck my neck out, it got chopped off. Yeah. Every time I stuck
Yeah.
my dick off, it got chopped off. That would be a better example for this conversation. Or I got shamed, or I got judged, or I got, called a perv or something like that. Um, it's gonna be difficult for him to share.
Unfortunately.
It is.
It's
And I
unfortunate.
I want to say out loud, women, please don't use that word with your partner. Because if you got a good man and you start calling him a pervert, then he's gonna feel like, I
A
don't know how you
pervert.
looking at me. Right. Like, and if I don't want that title, let me not touch you. Let me not, if you're perceiving me as that way, I don't want to be perceived that way. So then you're not the one I need to be sexual with that. Does that make sense? And
Mm-hmm.
so just be very conscious of names and titles and things that you're throwing around, because even though we like to say sticks and stones will break my bones, but names won't hurt me, they hurt. They get
Mm-hmm.
in. Oh, you looking at, oh, what do you think about me? Okay. That's all right. I want to have that conversation with you again with that. All right. What else? What else is coming up as I say all of that? Or are we having this conversation?
Well, what's trending, that and this has been mentioned before a couple of calls back, a couple videos back, is that people are starting to want to make sure their relationships work. They're doing
Mm.
everything that they can before saying the D word. I want to make this work. And
Mm-hmm.
they're not mentioning it anymore. So it's going
Mm.
more away from, oh, everybody's doing it, to let's see how we can fix this.
Yeah.
And probably about 85% of the people, it has to deal with sex therapy and not knowing their sexuality. It would be
Mm.
great to have a back to basics talk about that.
Okay, we might have to do that next week. All right, all
Very,
right. I'm
very basic.
excited. Baby. Okay.
Because what people have been told, it's
Mm-hmm.
messing them up right now.
Yeah.
And then how they found out about it, looking at different books, is not really the
Mm-hmm.
basics they found out. And then it's a little jaded
Mm-hmm.
later down the road when they get into
Mm-hmm.
relationships. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm hearing a lot of basics, how to's, and how do we keep this going? How do we continue maintaining a healthy relationship with just a partner?
Mm-hmm.
And they're not saying, I want other partners. They're saying, I
Yeah.
want this partner and I want it to last. And we're
Okay.
willing to work. Both of them are willing to work through it, even though they call and they sound like they're at their wits' end. That's what
Mm.
it sounds like. But after the conversation, they're like, oh, good, we can work on it. We can get
Yeah.
some help.
Yeah.
And that's what's trending and what has been turning, probably over the last, I'd say, 3 months, 3 to 6 months, maybe. It's been
Oh
turning,
wow.
which is
Yay.
excellent. So people are more focused on how they can stay in the relationship. I don't know what they're saying when it
Yeah.
comes out in therapy, but
Yes, they say it on
you
the
know,
phone.
it's starting out. They want to stay in this and
Mm-hmm.
maintain a healthy.
Mm-hmm.
relationship all the way around. And the
Yeah.
intimacy part is something that also needs to be addressed.
Yeah.
Intimacy
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
and how to do
Right.
that
Right.
outside of, before the sex, before all that intimacy.
Yeah.
It's
And so
holding
that's a
hands.
good question. So people out there, I want you to answer these questions for yourselves. What is intimacy? How do you define it? Can your partner define what you value, what you see as being intimate? What is good sex to you? Do you know what's good sex to your partner? Can you tell me what good sex for your partner is? Like, have y'all had those conversations with that? You know, well, I thought you'd like to swing from the chandeliers. Nope, that's not good sex for me. That's actually a little scary. I like to be on the bed.
Mhm.
Actually, I prefer the kitchen counter. It's the most sturdiest place of all. And so making sure you're having those conversations about, okay, what's good sex? What's really working for you? And then we're having them in the light of day, not right before something's gonna happen and somebody's feelings are gonna get hurt. But let's just make it better with that. So that's my 2 cents for the day. All right, Jessica, what are you thinking? What's coming up for you?
Another conversation me and a lot of girlfriends have where they might be in relationships where there's a lot of arguing. They say one
Mm,
thing
yeah.
we don't argue about is I'm never going to deny him of sex, to the point now you guys are just having intimate sex with each other just for the sex part,
Mm-hmm.
and you're not getting to the relational part, to the point where you're doing it so much you're just seeing them as I don't want to say sexual object, but just someone who's convenient to have sex with to get your needs met, to the point
Mm,
any relational stuff that does need to be addressed, they're putting it on the back burner. And now you might as well say you used to have a sex partner. You don't have a mate. You don't have a partner in the relational area. So it's
yeah.
the point that you're so addicted to the sex aspect of they're good in the bedroom. So when it comes to relationship, that's the conversation you don't want to have. You don't want to get into, and that's what needs to be met.
Yeah.
Because you can have sex for so long to the point where you even forget what you guys are arguing about. Why are you even together? So why are
Mm-hmm.
you guys together?
I think sometimes that's a good thing and sometimes it's a bad thing.
It is.
In
I'm just with
moderation.
you for the sex. You get on my nerves. We're gonna argue, but we're gonna have sex tonight. That
Right.
just sometimes
Right.
it's cute in the beginning, but sometimes as you get older, it get old because other needs get.
We got to get to those real conversations. I see exactly
Yeah.
what you're saying. Okay. All right, Sherry, and for you.
Um, I'm sorry. I don't.
You don't have anything? It's
Yeah.
okay. It's okay. I got plenty in my mind and head. I think kind of winding down, I really want women to in the sex therapy world we say don't yuck my yum, which is something I think is yummy. Don't say yuck to it. And so be very non-judgmental in any sexual conversations that you have. If you want your partner to be open and honest with you, you've got to be able to handle the truth, you know? And so practice, I think, however you can, being involved in sexual conversations with your partner, listening to radio and TV at times. Because I know I've had just a couple of conversations with some females over the years, and they have these assumptions, and I'm like, where did you get that from? Like, where? Well, I've gained weight, and I'm sure he doesn't want to have sex with me. Okay, but he married you. And so, how did you come up with the assumption that he'd rather not have sex at all
Hmm.
because you gained 5 pounds then or have sex with you with 5 pounds? Like where did that come from? And with that, well, he's bored with me. Okay. Even when somebody's hungry, they still gonna eat even if they're bored with the food. And so it's a thing. And so just kind of really understanding that and making sure you're having good conversations where you're not judging each other, where you can hear each other, understanding for a lot of men and a lot of women that sex is the point where they feel connected, like it's a physical representation of what we have going on emotionally with that. And a lot of people feel like they'll need it after arguments to feel like we're reconnected and coming back together. And so making sure that we're seeking to understand always where our partner's coming from and our partner's perspective with that. Okay. All right. We got like 2 minutes left for any last comments. So, any advice, Sharon? Can you give one piece of advice to a woman out there in the world who may not be understanding her man? What would you say?
Okay, so you know what I'm gonna say. Understanding yourself will help you understand why you don't understand your man, right?
Oh, that's a good one. Oh my gosh, that's so good. Yeah.
Even knowing who you
Wow.
are and being present
Yeah.
helps you understand what the conflict is and what's holding you back from understanding your man. So is
Mhm.
it your story about sex? Is it your sexual history? Is it your
Mhm.
narrative? Almost like what you were saying. Is it what you think this supposed to be like that's
Mhm.
keeping you from understanding your
Mm.
man in the
Mhm.
bedroom? And that's
Mm.
all I would have to say. You have to really just know who you are in all situations, understand what you're complaining about, and just know what your fight is.
Mhm. That was so perfect. So perfect. All right, ladies, that's it for today. Thank you guys for sharing your wisdom. I know somebody's gonna get this video and have some new understanding, and at very least is going to be able to have a different conversation with their partner. So thank you so much for giving your time and giving your wisdom. All right, y'all have a great day.
You
You
too.
too.
Bye.
Bye.
I hope you enjoyed our content today. We are here at Atlanta Sex Therapy to serve. If you did like our content, please like, subscribe, and share it with a friend. Also, click the little bell so you can get notifications when we put new videos out. People don't know what sex therapists do, and we're trying to get the information out there and spread the word. So I'm going to ask you to send this to 3 people because you never know who may be in need of more good information about sex. Thank you, and just have a wonderful day in life.